right, good morning and happy October. It is wild that it is already October. With that kind of comes this shift in season where things get really hectic really quickly, especially with holidays coming up. A lot of companies and brands have been coming out with 2024 planners, and you may have been feeling that kind of anxiety that comes with choosing the best fit or choosing the planner that you're going to stick with the entire year of 2024. And that's a lot of pressure, and that can feel a little bit overwhelming, especially if you've never done this before and you're new to this. I'm going to show you the method that worked for me and kind of how you can tailor it to best fit your needs. That's the only introduction I'm going to give this, and we're just going to get right into it. Let's go. To find a planner or planner system that works best for us, I'm going to walk you through the kind of method that I used that really helped me. I call this the foundation curation, a poet. I call it this because we are personally curating, so we are picking and choosing which foundational elements are going to best fit our wants and needs. To start off, I like to break people up into two different categories. Those two categories are going to be structure. And when you think about this, I want you to think about like the layouts that are in planners. So like obviously a blank notebook is going to have zero structure, whereas something like the weeks has a pretty decent amount of structure. You know where you're needing to put things. So when I mention structure, I just kind of want you to think about those layouts. The second category is going to be creative freedom. When you think about creative freedom, I want you to just think about the space that is available for you to express yourself creatively, however they might look like. So again, in a daily page, there is a lot of space here. There's a lot of creative freedom to do whatever you wanted. A lot of the times people like to separate these by functionality and creative freedom. I don't necessarily like to do that because this could be a very functional page. And so I don't like to put those things on the opposite spectrum. So that's why I put structure and not functionality. Every person is going to be a little bit different, but I like to break it up into just 3 groups. Again, we want to make this as simple as possible. If you're in group 1, you're probably someone who wants a lot of structure to your planners and a little less open space. If you're in group 2, you could be like me. You want about equal amounts of structure and freedom to create. This last group is going to be you want very minimal structure in your planners and a lot of creative freedom to do what you want. I want you to pick the percentage that is closest to your current wants and needs. For today's example, I'm just going to be recommending hobonichi planners. I feel like they have a big enough customer base and everyone is pretty familiar with their planners and layouts. If you are someone who has a different brand you are interested in, or you just want a plain notebook, that works perfectly too. You'll just need to do a little bit research on how the layouts are set up in these planners, and then you can go from there, which I'll explain in a second. But if you are in group 1, where you want a lot of structure and minimal creative freedom, I'm going to suggest hobonichi Weeks and the hobonichi A6 Techo, or original, kind of the same. If you are in group 2, where you kind of want a balance of both, I'm going to recommend the hobonichi Cousin, technically also the Han now, and the hobonichi Avec, which is essentially the cousin, it's just split in 2. And then if you're someone who wants very minimal structure and a lot of creative freedom, I'm going to recommend the hobonichi Day Free Planner and the hobonichi Weeks Mega, because there's a lot of empty pages in the back. If you're a hobonichi person, I would find what group you're in, and based on the planners listed, do your research and pick one that you think would best fit your needs. If you're someone who doesn't use hobonichi and there's another brand, or you just want to start with a plain notebook, look at these specific planners. So do your research, look at other YouTube videos, look at other layout styles. Pinterest is a great option, and either recreate it in your own way or find a planner that another brand has that has a very similar layout system. We're going to use me as an example. I know I'm in group 2. These are my planner options. I can either try a Cousin, Han, or an Avec. So look at me. I am choosing a Cousin, which is what I have now. Once you've started there, we're going to move into layout. So step 1 is our foundation, which is just your notebook that you're choosing. Once you have your book picked, then we can move into our layout style. I'm gonna use myself as an example. So in June, I thought that my planner wasn't working for me anymore. And so I ended up kind of falling off and kind of uprooting myself and going with a whole other planner system when I just needed to tweak my layout. I didn't need to tweak my actual foundation. I needed to tweak out step number 2. So when you are doing your research on these planners, I want you to see how other people use them, different layout styles, and I want you to kind of just pick pieces that interest you or things that you think would work for you functionally and either make a list of them, save them on your phone, take screenshots of them, whatever you need to do to keep them in the back of your mind. Whatever layout styles interest you, I want you to have those in the back of your mind because that's what we are going to implement here. So for me, I already had an idea of what layout style I liked and what kind of worked for me. And if you've watched Megan Rhiannon, this will look very similar to you because my style is heavily influenced by her. So I knew that this style worked for me in some capacity, but as we got into June, I started falling off, and that was because my needs weren't being met somewhere. And instead of correcting those needs, I kind of just went off the deep end. A lot of the times people will recommend you going from kind of 0 to 100, so starting very minimal and then working your way up into your personal style. I like to think of it backwards. So I want to start at 100 where nothing is off the table. I try everything, and then based on what I like and what I don't like, I will continue to kind of tailor my weeks or whatever layout into that. So this is me starting at 100. You can see I played a little bit with the layout of my columns. I added this taskbar at the bottom. Instead of doing my print handwriting, I started doing cursive. Nothing was off the table for me, and I just experimented with a bunch of stuff I was interested in. And when we move into next week, I take what I like and I leave what I don't. So you can see this bleeding into other columns. After 3 days, hated it. I didn't continue it. So I didn't continue it in this week. I still kept with the cursive writing. I kept with this bottom bar. I added some quotes on the top to experiment a little. And then I also knew that I like having a decorative or creative outlet element. In these past weeks, I've used stickers, but this week I experimented with painting. Again, nothing was off the table. And then once you get through week 2, you move into week 3. Same method. I'm keeping what I like and leaving what I don't. So I realized I did not like this bottom bar, so I got rid of it. I liked painting, so I kept it. I liked my cursive handwriting, so I kept that. Still experimenting a little bit with elements that I knew I liked, trying them in a different way, but keeping the foundations of my layout the same. So that kind of brings us into this week. And this week I feel really confident in the layout and creative expression that I need and want in my planning. If you have already started planning, but you're feeling really stagnant or kind of bored with your planner, give yourself an experimentation week. I listed it on the side, and don't be afraid to make your planner look ugly or not cohesive or functional. Give yourself the freedom to be bad, to be creative, and just try things to try them. I like to think of this as kind of like word vomiting. It's like planner vomit. Like just get it all out there and see what works for you and what doesn't. I would have never thought to try little watercolor paintings unless I'd given myself the freedom in my experimentation week to try these things. Could do the same sort of thing for a calendar spread if you want. Calendar might be a little bit hard. So this is, again, when I started experimenting, I did a little watercolor painting. This one's kind of hard to compare week by week like this one might be, but you could still do the same thing. And then I did the exact same thing with my dailies. So again, I had some sort of idea of what dailies I liked and what kind of works for me. And then I started at 100. So this is me starting at 100. I did some watercolor paintings, a gratitude list, a to-do sheet, journaling, did everything that ever interested me, tapering it down day by day to see what worked best for my current needs and wants. So you will see a lot of it is just having a creative outlet for me, doing some art and journaling. You can see literally after day 1, I stopped doing a gratitude list, which is not to say that I am not grateful, but I just realized I didn't need it, didn't want to do it in my planner. So I got rid of this. You'll see throughout my days, I start to get rid of this little task list at the top, and you can see that my needs really are just journaling and having some sort of artistic outlet for myself. And so by giving myself this freedom to kind of just planner vomit on this page, I've really found a daily planning section that works best for me. So you can kind of see I mainly just like having one big artistic element and then just journaling for myself. And I don't limit myself, or I don't force myself to do a page per day. I'm someone that looks at these as blank pages. Like, I don't use the dates for dates. I just use it for the space, which I think, again, gives me a lot of freedom. Once you have your layout, so this is step 1, step 2 was our layout. Once you have kind of practiced that 100 to 0 method and you kind of have it down, then you can focus on the miscellaneous stuff. So miscellaneous stuff might be sticker packs or new paints or a new pen. If you're someone who wants a lot of structure and not a lot of creative freedom, that could be trying a new pen ink color or a pen nib size, or just something very small and minute but still gives you a little bit of variety. I think a lot of us, when our miscellaneous and our layout is off, we think the whole system is trash, when in reality we just need to tweak our foundation and make this foundation really strong, and then these are much easier to tweak and to tailor to your current needs. So I would recommend doing this kind of check-in with yourself whenever you're feeling kind of stagnant, whenever you're feeling bored in your planner. If it's not working functionally for you anymore, then you can go and try this kind of method, breaking it down, starting with the foundations and then working your way down. So I hope all that makes sense to you. If you have any questions or if anything was confusing, leave them below and I will happily answer them. But if you guys want to see a more in-depth flip through, I can definitely do that. I'm really happy with the weeks system that I'm in right now, and I have planner peace for once, and we'll see how long it lasts. But I finally found a comfortable system to get me to planner peace, and I think that in itself is very peaceful. So just have one final category right here for you.